Yeah.
Yeah?
Where's the first guy?
Yeah.
All right,
You got ice on your chest?
You know where you are? You know what state you're in?
Yeah, California.
Okay. What city are you in?
No way I would want to do that.
Yo, paramedic.
Yeah.
Before we go,
Joe Rogan just sent shockwaves through the fight world. Literally. After Jake Paul announced he was backing out of the Mike Tyson fight, Rogan reportedly landed a chest shot that left Jake stunned. Yep, that, Joe Rogan, the podcast juggernaut and UFC commentator, reminded everyone he's not just a voice behind a mic. The man has serious MMA chops, and when Jake crossed the line, Rogan let his hands do the talking. So what set it off? Jake apparently couldn't resist trash talking. Tyson, mocking his past struggles with addiction. Big mistake. Jake might have thought he was just stirring the pot for headlines, but he clearly underestimated just how deep Rogan's respect for Tyson runs. Let's rewind. Joe and Mike may not be longtime friends, but their on-air chemistry is undeniable. Their first face-to-face was back on January 17, 2019, during a podcast episode that quickly became legendary. Since then, Rogan has never been shy about praising Tyson's raw power and presence. Those episodes weren't just casual chats. They were intense, emotional, and brutally honest conversations that left a lasting mark on Rogan. So when Jake decided to throw dirt on Tyson's name, it wasn't just a PR stunt gone wrong. It was personal. And Rogan, he made it crystal clear. When it comes to Mike Tyson, you better come correct, or be ready to get checked.
I know you're not gonna win, but somebody said, would you fight this guy for like 40 million or 30 million bucks? I said, man, get the whoa. I said, oh, there's something ding. I was just giving it, get the fuck. I said, whoa.
Joe Rogan and Mike Tyson never held back when it came to Jake Paul. During the period when Jake was relentlessly calling Tyson out, practically begging him to step into the ring, Tyson responded with his signature confidence. Despite his age, he made it crystal clear. He was more than ready. The power, the skill, the legendary ferocity that once defined his reign, still alive and dangerous. Joe, always the sharp-tongued host and fiercely loyal friend, backed Tyson without hesitation. On multiple episodes of his podcast, Rogan didn't just support Mike. He sent out blunt, no-nonsense warnings to Jake Paul. He emphasized just how prepared Tyson was, describing the brutal intensity of his training and reminding everyone that age hadn't dulled the knockout power that made Tyson a legend. Rogan painted a vivid, unforgiving picture. This wasn't a retired fighter looking for a payday. This was Mike Tyson, still a predator in the ring, and anyone underestimating him, especially someone like Jake Paul, was in for a dangerous reality check.
I don't give a fuck if he's 55. That's still Mike Tyson.
Mike's in good shape, too.
Oh, my God.
Mike trains every day.
He trains with Rafael Cordero, who's a legend in MMA. He runs King's mixed martial arts.
But Rogan's warnings weren't just about respecting Tyson's raw power. There was something deeper behind them. He genuinely cared about Jake Paul's well-being. Beyond all the bravado, viral trash talk, and influencer antics, Rogan saw a young guy with potential, but also a dangerous dose of naivety. He wasn't rooting against Jake. He was trying to wake him up. Rogan understood the difference between internet fame and real combat, and he knew that stepping into the ring with someone like Mike Tyson wasn't just another content stunt. It was playing with fire.
Him holding the mitts for Tyson, and Tyson smashing the mitts. Like, Jesus. Mike, that guy can still fuck you up.
He don't want to fight Mike.
Joe's tone often walked a fine line. On one side, there was clear admiration for Tyson's legacy. On the other, a serious, almost fatherly concern for Jake Paul. He didn't want to see Jake fail. He wanted to see him wise up. Joe believed Jake had potential, but feared he was charging into deep waters without fully understanding the stakes. In those podcasts, Joe played mediator between Jake's youthful overconfidence and the unforgiving reality of what it means to face a seasoned warrior like Tyson. He consistently emphasized that boxing isn't just brute force, it's strategy, experience, and mental grit. And in those departments, Tyson wasn't just a fighter, he was a master.
that is in his mind still. That's in there. There's a dark chamber in his mind that he can open up.
Yeah.
And I think he's got it open. The question is, can his body move along with it?
Rogan's concern for Jake was heartfelt. He wasn't just throwing out warnings for show. He truly didn't want to see the young fighter get seriously hurt. Joe understood the pull of fame, the adrenaline of competition, and the appeal of chasing legacy. But he also knew the unforgiving nature of the boxing world. His advice wasn't just about respecting Mike Tyson's legacy. It was about protecting Jake from the harsh, potentially dangerous consequences of underestimating a legend. But in today's world, sincere advice often falls on deaf ears, and Jake Paul was no exception. None of Joe's concerns seemed to break through. Jake had already carved out his brand, the loudest, most unapologetic trash talker in boxing. He's built his image on relentless provocation and controversy, staying in the headlines just as much for his antics as for his actual fights. For Jake, it's not just about stepping in the ring. It's about constantly feeding the hype machine, and he's mastered that game like a pro.
I hope y'all keep that same energy when I knock this old man the fuck out.
One of Jake Paul's favorite punching bags, at least verbally, has been none other than the legendary Mike Tyson. Despite Tyson's iconic status and a career that left an indelible mark on boxing, Jake didn't hesitate to take shots. In interviews and across social media, Jake repeatedly downplayed Tyson's relevance in today's boxing landscape. In one particularly infamous moment, during a private event filled with notable fighters and personalities, Jake casually referred to Tyson as a has-been, quipping that fighting him would be like picking a fight with some old guy at the park. What's the point? But Jake didn't stop there. He turned his sights on Joe Rogan, a respected voice in the combat sports world, known for his deep martial arts knowledge and his long-standing camaraderie with Tyson. At the same event, Jake took a direct shot at Rogan, accusing him of being biased and out of touch. "Joe's stuck in the past," Jake said with a sneer. "He's never given me a shred of credit because he's hung up on the old school guys. He hates that someone like me is shaking things up." These weren't just casual jabs. They were deeply personal attacks, questioning Rogan's integrity and his place in the world of combat sports. And in doing so, Jake didn't just stir controversy. He lit a fire under two of the sport's most respected figures.
Give a fuck if you think he's 55 years old. That guy will hurt you. If Jake Paul's on the other side of the ring and he sees Mike Tyson just fucking bobbing and weaving, he's going to have a recognition.
Yeah.
He's going to look over and go, oh my God, that's really Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
The tension between Jake Paul and Joe Rogan wasn't some overnight feud. It was a slow burn, fueled by repeated clashes in values and philosophy. Rogan, never one to mince words, often discussed Jake on his podcast, voicing serious concerns about Jake's brash, marketing-first approach to boxing and his open disrespect for seasoned fighters. Known for his thoughtful and analytical takes, Rogan didn't just bash Jake for clicks. He genuinely tried to warn him. On multiple occasions, Joe emphasized how dangerous it was to underestimate veterans like Mike Tyson, reminding listeners, that experience in combat sports isn't just a footnote, it's the foundation. Tyson, in Joe's eyes, wasn't just a former champ. He was a living embodiment of grit, discipline, and terrifying skill. In one particularly pointed podcast, Rogan directly addressed Jake's dismissive remarks about Tyson. With unmistakable frustration, he said, "Jake doesn't understand what Tyson is capable of even now. He's not just some old man. He's Mike freaking Tyson. Disrespect him. And you're not just playing with your image. You're playing with your health." It wasn't just a warning. It was a wake-up call. Whether Jake heard it or chose to ignore it is another story entirely.
There's not a fucking chance in hell that Jake Paul would survive against the Mike Tyson that beat Marvis Frazier. You're in savage mode right now. He's in savage mode. If I was Jake Paul right now, I would be shitting my pants.
Oh, bro! If I'm fighting this guy and I see he's eating raw meat, I call the fucking thing off.
Rogan's efforts to reach Jake Paul weren't fueled by ego. They came from a place of genuine concern. Joe saw potential in the young fighter, but was growing increasingly alarmed by Jake's reckless, attention-seeking attitude. Instead of listening, Jake doubled down on the arrogance. Rather than take Rogan's advice to heart, he lashed out on social media. "Joe Rogan thinks he knows everything, but he's just another guy who talks big behind a mic," Jake tweeted. "He's never been in the ring like I have, he doesn't get it." That jab wasn't just petty. It lit the fuse on a smoldering feud that had been building for years. Then came the day things moved from talk to tension. June 15th, 2024. The iconic Wildcard Boxing Club in Los Angeles, an elite training ground known for its grit, legends, and no-nonsense atmosphere. Joe Rogan was there on a quiet visit, catching up with the legendary trainer Freddie Roach, talking shop about upcoming fights, fighters, and the state of boxing. Rogan, a staple in the fight world, often visited gyms like Wildcard to stay in touch with the heart of the sport he loved. The gym buzzed with energy, gloves thudding against heavy bags, coaches barking instructions, and the bell ringing between rounds. Posters of boxing greats looked down from the walls, their silent stares a reminder of what greatness actually looks like. Then the gym doors swung open. In walked Jake Paul, surrounded by his usual entourage, loud, cocky, and fully dressed to steal the spotlight. His flashy workout gear and larger-than-life swagger demanded attention. Eyes followed him across the room like a storm had just rolled in. Joe looked up, surprised but composed. A simple nod of acknowledgement was exchanged. Cool on the outside, but electric underneath. Everyone in the gym felt it. This wasn't just another drop-in visit. Jake strutted around like he owned the place, tossing out greetings, cracking jokes, making noise. But his eyes kept flicking to Rogan. The atmosphere thickened with tension, and then, as if on cue, the news hit. Jake Paul had just canceled his highly hyped fight with Mike Tyson. The gym's mood shifted instantly. The timing couldn't have been worse, or maybe for Jake, it couldn't have been more calculated. The fighter had just backed out of the bout that was supposed to define his credibility, and now here he was, showing up at the most respected boxing gym in the country, right after mocking one of its most respected voices. People stopped hitting the bags. Coaches paused mid-sentence. Every eye was locked on the scene that was unfolding, because everyone knew something was about to go down.
The news is true, folks. I, Jake Paul, will be fighting Mike Perry, Tampa, Florida, July 20th.
Don't forget to like the channel, subscribe, and press the bell icon to stay updated with all the latest content.